Hey everybody, it's Laura Eisenhower. I'm joined today by a very, very special guest. Her name is Elena Danaan, and it just ended up being a very spontaneous thing because she reached out to me with an email, and I was just like, whoa, and started to look into her more. So I just first want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. This is such a privilege and a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Before I tell you a bit about her, I want to remind everybody I have an online event this coming Saturday, which is the 19th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to be answering questions. It's going to be a Q&A, and I'm going to put the link in the description. And so that's 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and it's a Q&A. You can ask me anything about a lot of the research and work that I've put out there, and also about the December 21st date. It's going to fall before then, and I can really go into great detail. It's 3 hours long, so I hope you guys will join me, and that's hosted by Portal to Ascension. Yeah, and make sure you check out my website too. I sell a lot of products there that are really good to have during these times, cosmicgaia.org. You can look under the products thing, and I just want to throw that out there. But yes, Elena, amazing. So, I mean, she does all sorts of things, but she's got an incredible story she's written a book about. She does 5D coaching, spiritual guidance, and she's like a druidess and a shaman and a channeler and a light worker, starseed mission type thing. But her story, she's been able to put into a book called A Gift from the Stars, and she'll tell us all about that. And it's a true story of an abduction and a rescue by benevolent extraterrestrials that she has experienced in her life. And she also has a strong connection with Valiant Thor, and we're going to talk about that. She sent me an email sharing some things about Valiant Thor and Eisenhower. And so many things have piqued my curiosity and interest, and it's just such a pleasure to meet you. And yeah, maybe we could just start with this experience that this book is about. You had an abduction take place when you were a kid with the Greys, you said more hostile type beings, and then you got rescued by Pleiadians, right?
Yes, that's what happened to me, yes. I was 9 years old, and I already had psychic abilities. I could see a lot of things. But so I saw this UFO with my granny at the window, and a big orange bright UFO hovering above the house. And the next thing I remember is going to bed and waking up the following morning, blood all over the place in the bed and markings on my inside of my arms, and with belly bleeding, and it was quite traumatic. So this stayed as a trauma in my life, and I had many other contacts with Nordic aliens throughout the years, but it was quite difficult to accept it because I was a child. And so when I went recently 2 years ago, I underwent my process of awakening, and it was the moment I chose to know everything about my abductions. And so I required the help of a quantum hypnotherapist. And through these sessions, all my memory came back, but not only, it allowed me to reconnect with my protectors. So what happened really is that the night I saw this UFO, this ship, the same night I was taken, abducted by small greys. They beamed this blue ray of light through the roof in my bedroom and took me in it. And what is absolutely mind-blowing is that when you are in this beam, it's like you shift density because you go through walls, buildings, material. It's quite disturbing. Then I was in this ship, and well, I describe all the details in my book, but not to lose too much time. It was freezing cold, and the air was quite thin and to breathe, and I was put on the table, a metallic table, and these greys removed my clothes. Suddenly I had no clothes, my nightgown was gone, and I was paralyzed. I was totally paralyzed. At the moment I was in the beam, I started to be numb, and I could still move a little bit. And I understood what they did to me. They put straps on my wrist, and in the straps there were tiny little needles, and these needles were I'd injected a product that paralyzed totally my nervous system. So that's the markings I had on the following morning in my inside of my wrist. So they did terrible things to me. They insert an implant in my head, on the back of my head, that was horribly painful, although I couldn't move, it was very weird, I could feel pain. And they inserted as well something in my belly, and which I couldn't see. And they just did that, and at that moment, they were like kind of robots, like they were synthetic life forms, I learned after that. And a live Gray came in and asked them, I think it seemed like he was asking them telepathically to hurry up. And I could feel the tension growing, and suddenly there was a big, the whole ship shook, like trembled, and it was like, whoa. And it was super scary to me. And the ship was, I understood afterwards that the ship was attacked by another ship, and whose people beamed on board, and there was an explosion. The door exploded. In the meantime, this gray being, the alive one, were hurrying the other ones to undo my straps, and they wanted to bring me back. They didn't have the time. Two tall men in spacesuit came in. They rushed in, and it was super scary because I was 9. I was very young, and already what was happening was quite traumatic. But then seeing this scene of violence was even more traumatic. These two men came in, and they had oblong like phasers. They shoot at the creatures. And what was interesting was that they shot the three synthetic life forms, but the living one of the men, he strangled him to death. There was kind of anger, something. It was really horrible to see.
So the people that entered, you said, was spacesuits. Were they like Palladian? Were they human?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I learned afterwards they were Pleiadians. And so one of them, the one who strangled the guy, the Gray, he took me in his arms, and they rushed in the other room. And it was very weird because all I could see was his helmet, the glass. I couldn't really see his face, but there was the reflection of lights. So we changed room, and suddenly there was this big tickling on all my body, and I think we beamed aboard their ship. There was a big flash of light, like a vortex that spun, and we suddenly, the first thing I remember, I noticed it was warmer and light, and I was in this other ship, and there were 2 other Nordic people, plus the 2 men who brought me. My first vision was a lady with blonde hair, short blonde hair, like straight and cut like this, wearing a blue skin-tight uniform, very beautiful, with very big green eyes. She helped the man to to lay me down on a sort of couch, and my savior, he took his helmet off and his spacesuit top, and he wore the same blue uniform underneath, and he put his jacket on me because I was naked and I was cold, and so they were speaking telepathically, but sometimes they were speaking half in a language as well that I couldn't understand, of course. The other man as well removed his spacesuit, and he had long, beautiful blonde hair. My savior had wavy blonde hair. And the lady, she lifted the jacket, and I think she had a cloth or a sponge. She cleansed my legs. That's where I saw that there was blood. And I started to feel warmer and be less and less paralyzed. But it took time. They then, they couldn't remove the implant. It was the way, in my head, the way it was put. I learned after that if they had removed it, they could have hurt me or damaged my brain because it was in such a place. So they didn't remove it. I still have it now as I speak. But what they did is they retuned this implant to their own frequency. They hijacked it. They just burnt it, and so suddenly I was understanding them talking, because tuning them to that frequency, I could hear them talking and understand what they were saying. And I slept. They put me to sleep to regenerate. And when I woke up, I was feeling well and in all possession of my body, and I could sit, and always I had this warm jacket on me, which was enormous. And the first thing I saw was the two men sat on armchairs back to me, and there was a big, big screen, and on this screen I could see the curvature of the earth. And I didn't know at the time it was the earth, that this was beautiful. I think I understood pretty much that they were bringing me home. And my savior came, he sat beside me, and he spoke to me, and I could understand what he was saying. And he said that they were part of a big organization that I learned later was the Galactic Federation, and that he was from the Pleiades, and that they are rescuing people, especially children. They are working like mad to rescue children that are being abducted, and that they were going to bring me home, and that he explained to me what he did with the implant. And so he put his hand on my head, and I fell asleep. I lost consciousness, and I woke up in my bed. And the next thing is that I woke up in my bed in the morning. The bleedings were on again, and I had blood all over my bed, markings, triangular markings in my inside of my wrist, and a horrible headache. And it was panic. The doctor came, and he couldn't find out anything. I was too young to have my period. It was just traumatic. So they brought me in the hospital, where I stayed 2 months. And
You stayed for how long?
2 months.
2 months?
Yes, 2 months.
Why so long? Okay,
because because they wanted to do tests on me, many tests, and because my headaches wouldn't stop. They were doing scans and electroencephalograms and scans, and they couldn't find anything in my head. Of course, because this implant is interdimensional, so it's transdimensional, so it's in another density that's not you cannot see it with the instruments of our density.
Like an ethereal implant? Is that what they're called?
I wouldn't call it ethereal. I would call it a technology, but in a higher density. So it's like it is in another dimension, density, you know. I can't I don't know how to describe it, but it's not detectable by our instruments. Yeah, scanner.
So you got it tuned though to the frequency of the Pleiadians, but the minute you got back home, it's like everything kind of fell away. Or did you have more contact with either group?
Yes. They contact me regularly. I thought I was dreaming. I was seeing the same person, this man with wavy hair, in my dreams. He was talking to me, and one day I could remember clearly what he was saying, that they were here to protect me, and I needed to stay on this planet because I had chosen to be here, because I had a mission. And I remember I was saying, no, I want to go back with you. I want to go back. And they were saying, no, you have to understand that you chose this mission and you have to stay until you accomplished it. My grandmother told me that she was hearing me every night praying to the stars, and my window was open. I was saying, please come back and bring me home. And so I couldn't understand why at the time. And I was completely obsessed by the Pleiades, the constellation. And at that time, I wanted to become an astronomer, because every cell of my body wanted to be there, not here. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night. I was, I think, maybe 14. And this blonde lady was in my bedroom. It was very shocking. She was there. And she showed the wall to me. And the wall became a screen. And in the screen, she showed me stuff. She showed me a big pyramid and people queuing to go to this pyramid, as if this pyramid was a portal. And there were spaceships coming and taking the people somewhere else, like saving them. And then she showed me like a flight, like if I was a bird flying above a landscape. And it was twilight, maybe night. It was in a desert area, and there were buildings, like military buildings in the desert. And I could really focus. And she was drawing my attention to a hangar in that desert. And it was a valley that was perfectly clear until this day. And she said to me, you need to contact. She gave me the name of a person. And I realized later, recently, as I just put my nose back into it, that this aerial view was Area 51. Exactly. And I still don't know to this day why I needed to contact this person. Because I asked, they told me at the time he could have helped you understand things. So that was it. And another time as well, I was taken again on board a ship. I was 16. In full afternoon, the ray of light, and I was inside the ship suddenly. And they were the same Nordic Pleiadian people, and they left me my memory for that time, and they showed me on a table there was kind of a holographic map with lines and circles in 3 dimension, and it was the map of the stars, like star map, and they were showing me positions of civilizations, and that was imprinted in my mind. They beamed me back, and my first reflex was to grab a map I had, astrological map on paper, and glue stickers wherever I could remember the civilizations were. and write on the map all the names I couldn't find, the name of the stars that I had in my head, and then blank. Poof. Suddenly, I realized something that this was important, and I got scared. I got scared, and I folded the map and I hid it. Recently, when I decided to undergo hypnosis last year.
Hypnosis.
Sorry?
Oh, just in case people didn't quite catch what you said hypnosis.
Yes, hypnosis, yes.
Okay.
Last year. At the same time, I received a parcel from my mother in France. And she said, oh, I was going through your old stuff and I found this. And that was the map.
Huh.
So I have it. And in the meantime, I had been in contact with my protectors. And I asked him, my protector, I asked him, could you help me complete it? And he did.
Huh.
And I published it in my book. So it's
Oh, my
available
goodness.
for everyone, because that's, when you receive gift, you always have to share them. That's my, well, at the moment, they were okay with that, of course. And that's when we decide to give information to people. And then we decide to, because he was telling me about all these races, and I started to note everything, and we decided to do a book because I'm an artist, so I could draw them, the visions he was giving me of these races. And that's how the book came. This book is not only my story, but as well a guide of alien races that are visiting Earth and where they live. And that's a gift. I call the book a gift from the stars, but that's a gift for everyone. So this implant was activated sometimes. I could feel, sometimes one day I was in college and this really activated. I felt a big pain, like if someone was putting a nail in my head, and I fell on my knee, really in pain, and it went like click, and I heard his voice for the first time in my head.
The protector, the
yes, his name is Thor. That's his name, Thor. And he said to me in my language, do not worry, we are just making a test, tuning and making a test. And I saw his face in my head. So it was, they were tuning the implant to start to communicate again with me. But they didn't really do it because I was very emotional, and admitting their existence and that these weren't dreams, that me beaming aboard the ship wasn't me being crazy. Admitting all this was true, was also admitting that the Greys had done horrible things on me, and my subconscious was no. It was too traumatic, and I had PTSD all my life. I couldn't go to the dentist. It's been quite traumatic. And when my awakening process just happened, I was ready. And they came back after years and years, after maybe 20 years of no contact, because I need to go process of my life. I was working in Egypt as an archaeologist. It was very hard. I came back to France, my country, and then moved to Ireland, where I live now. And one night in 2018, I went outside and I saw two spaceships crossing the sky and playing with each other, going here, like if they wanted me to see them, and shooting above the sea. On the following day, it's gone. It's called the Shannon incident. It's been on all the newspaper. Plane pilots have seen them. There's recordings. Anyway, this night they took me again. But this night it was like meeting old friends.
Right,
Obviously.
because there's been a 20-year gap, right? So
Yes, yes. Meeting old friends and catching up.
and
And it
you
was,
said an archaeologist in Egypt. I just want to make sure
yes,
everybody heard that.
yes, yes. I'm an archaeologist. That is my profession. Before I became a light worker, after my awakening, I have been working as an archaeologist all my life. Yes.
Okay, so keep going. So it was like a
So they
reunion,
took
you
me,
said? Yeah.
yes, 2018, November 2018, and they say to me, we are back because something very important is going to happen for Earth.
What year was this?
2018, November 2018.
Okay. Wow.
We are back because something very important is going to happen for Earth. And so they were very excited. It was in a positive way that they say that. Very excited. Something's going to happen for Earth and we are back. This kind of energy. And the Pleiadians are very sizzling and very hyper energy. It's like buzzing all the time. They're like, you have to keep up with them. They're like, then there was another person who was with them, and that's another part of my life as well. Thorhan, my protector, said to me, now there is someone that you haven't seen for a long time who wants to meet you again. Didn't know what he meant. He stepped back. Him and the lady, they stepped back. And behind, from a corner of the ship, came a tall gray being. But he wasn't gray. Had a brown skin. Looked like a tall gray, but he had brown skin and beautiful indigo eyes with clear blue pupils in the center. And this being was radiating so much love and high spiritual energy, so much love. And it was like if I knew him from always. And it was like family. It was so weird.
But they said you knew him, right?
Yes. And very weirdly, I saw myself going towards him. And you know what I did? I hugged him. Oh my God, I couldn't control myself. I hugged him and I remember his cheek was cold. That was weird. And he said, my name is Anax. And I am very glad to see you again, my child. What the hell was that? You know? And then Torhan said, okay, now we need to bring you back. But we'll be present in your life very soon. Wait for it. So I felt dizzy and I felt surrounded by blue light, and I was in my bedroom again. And then my awakening just started. Just at that moment, I fell really in the dark night of the soul. Everything I knew just collapsed, vanished, and it was like horrible. You know, well, everyone who went through this know what I'm talking about. And slowly, I went out of it, realized who I was, and that I was more spiritual and more magical than I thought. Things were starting to activate, and that's when I start to want to do this hypnosis. Find a hypnotherapist. I found a lady who specialized in alien abductees and star seeds. So I went with her, and she changed my life because she brought back all my memory. But in my memory, I reconnected openly with Thorhan, and the implant now was really activated. And that's what he was waiting for, that I made the extra step myself. And I did it, and I accepted it, and I was ready to know the truth. And that's when then he told me, I rescued you because, and the memories of the abductions by the Greys just unfolded, and a whole story, and I was ready. Then the following day of the first hypnosis session, I heard his voice in my head, and I realized I was connected with him, and I could talk by telepathy. And that's how it started. That's how suddenly I had daily contact with him. But as well, I realized with the other one, the tall gray as well, and the lady as well, I went, wow, I can speak with them. And they taught me how to activate the implant. And I start to do channelings as well. So now that's why I'm doing channelings for people. I'm channeling them once a week now. And that is how I got to be connected to Valiant Thor. That's the story I'm going to talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
Before we go there,
Yeah.
so just to make sure, okay, when you came back,
Yes.
and you were in the hospital for 2 months.
Yes.
I kind of jumped into another question, and I'm not sure if you were able to finish the thought of what was it that got you out of the hospital? What was it because of your relationship with these higher beings that they were able to kind of heal you and help you deal with those headaches, or what sort of got you out of the hospital and being tested and all the headaches?
They got me out when they found an explanation that they invented, because I was given hormones and the pill, and they provoked my period. And once they could explain, like with denial, that the bleeding at the start was due to preparing my period, they tried to find an explanation, and and then they went, okay, she'll be fine, out. But never. Yeah, my headaches calmed down slowly, and but that was the implant, because it's been very hard, invasive, the way the place they put it, the way they did it, and then the Pleiadians trying to trigger it, to remove it. No, it reattuned it. Okay, I mean, my head was like jam.
Oh man. And then after the hospital, when was the first you visited with Thor Han again? But then there was that 20-year gap, right? You had another visitation before that big gap, or was it after the
Yes.
hospital there was that gap?
Yes, I had 3 visitations. One with the lady and 2 with him. And the 2 visitations, I was on board the ship. And I remember as well, when I was on board the ship, they showed me how to pilot it. I couldn't touch anything. I wasn't allowed to touch anything. But they allowed me to sit in the chair. And because Thorhan was a pilot, and he showed me and he explained to me. And recently I asked him again, when we were doing this book, that he explained to me in more details how it was really working. So there are different ways of piloting a ship, and they can pilot by consciousness, by merging their frequency with the frequency of the ship. They can do it mechanically. It depends. There are so many formations.
Nice. Well, let's definitely shift gears, because this is so fascinating. I'm so I've got so many questions though about what we just talked about, but just because for a timing thing, we can always do more. You mentioned that you had met Valiant Thor 2 weeks ago on the orbital ship where your friend Thor Han is working, and the encounter was quite striking. So take us into that and some of the communications that have taken place.
Yes. So as I was starting to do the channelings, people were asking me, oh, could you connect to Valiant Thor? And I'd barely heard that name before. And I said, well, I don't know. So I asked Thorhan, do you know this guy? Is he real? And he said, oh, yes, he's real. I go, no way. So he said, I can get a contact with you if you want. I went, oh my God. So he said, he's a commander, and he's living on an outpost of the Federation on Venus. And he said, I'm going to put a request and see if he answers. And it took like maybe a month, and there wasn't any answer. And Torhan said to me, well, maybe we give up, because I know he's been a bit traumatized by being on Earth, and maybe that's it. Maybe he doesn't want to do anything, to have to do anything with Earthlings, Terrans, as they call it, us. And recently, 2 weeks ago, Torhan said, "Hey," he replied. And no, he said, first he said, he contacted me telepathically, and he said, "Oh, I have a surprise for you. Do you want to come up?" And I went, "What's the surprise?" No, he said, "Someone you wanted to meet is here on board the station." And I went, "Oh my God, I think I get it." Okay, so the thing is, he beamed me up, but the way he did it, it beamed. So it's like dematerialization and rematerializing up there. It's like quantum, like boom, boom. It's not being by a beam, you know. It's just disappearing in one place and appearing in the other one. And I was there, and Torhan was with these two guys. So it's a little smaller than him, because it's not the same race. And Thorhan is an Ahel Pleiadian. It's just tall, blonde beings with big, wide eyes, and they're quite tall. And these two guys were like me, brown hair, brown eyes. You couldn't tell they were aliens if they were on Earth in a crowd. You couldn't. And so he introduced me to this guy, and I knew it was Valiant Thor, and I just knew it. And so, and he said, how did he say that in English? And it's funny because he spoke, his lips were moving, but in the same time, I could hear his voice in my head. This was weird. He said, very nice to meet you, Elena. My name is Commander Val Thor. And I liquefied. His aura was very, very radiant, and he was so calm. Shook my hand very nicely, and the other guy was with him. He said, "This is my brother Don." Guy was like him, a little bit taller, brown hair, and he said, "Let us go and sit and talk." I was like, "Is it really happening to me?" What? So we went to another room. It was filled with light, and there was a bit of a depression and round curved seats, and we sat there. And Torhan was putting his hand in my back just to ground me, and so he said that he didn't reply straight away because he's working a lot and he didn't pay attention, and he was on Earth. So what came in this conversation was that he came in he came in 1954, but he came a few times before already, and he was sent by the Galactic Federation to convince the leaders of Earth at the time not to make bad choices, because the Federation had contacted some leaders to warn them not to make agreement with tricky, toxic races.
So there was the visitation with the Nordics, though, that happened in 1954, yes. And then the Greys came along. But are you saying Valiant Thor was a part of that first contact with the Nordics?
No, he came after.
Okay, but he had started to visit Earth in 1954, and then
yes.
Okay, so yes. But the warning was, I mean, he was a part of that team, but he wasn't in that contact. I mean,
he was part of the project.
Gotcha.
He was part of the project.
It started with the Nordics.
Yes.
Trying to
Yes, the Nordics, as many know the story, which he confirmed, they were sent by the Federation, and they wanted to warn the people, the leaders, not to accept that they were about to be contacted by another races of Greys, and that they shouldn't, they were advised not to accept, because it would be a bad choice, because these didn't want the good of humanity. And he said, so the Nordic said to president at the time that, you know, um, that they would instead offer them, if they want, to deactivate their weapons in order and teach them how to get on with each other and make peace, and try to ease the envy and the greed between nations, giving everyone the same amount of technology and help, medical technology, free energy devices, propulsion technology, a lot of things, if they agreed to with them to of their assistance.
What, was Thor Han a part of this Nordic group?
No.
No. Okay, keep going.
No. So the thing is, it's been turned down. And what Valiant Thor said, well, his name is Val, in fact. Valiant is an interpretation. He said it's not his name, it's Val Thor. Okay, he said that your great-grandfather wanted to sign to go with the Nordics because he understood this was the way forward for humanity. And that Valiant Thor said that he found in your great-grandfather a man who loved children, a man who was very drawn to protecting children, and that resonated with him. And that's how he thought there was hope, because your great-grandfather was thinking about the future of the future children and the future of humanity throughout children. And there was something very important about children. And he was about to accept, because things had been going on since 1954, and it was in between agreements, and then agreements were signed behind the president's back, Valiant Thor said, by 12 men of power, and I think it's the majestic 12 he was talking about, without the consent of the president. They signed with the Greys.
So the Nordics came, and then the Greys came, and
yes,
12 men without the authorization of Eisenhower signed
yes,
deals with the Greys,
yes,
and they've been
yes,
blaming Eisenhower ever since.
yes, yes. So Eisenhower was very angry and wanted to reverse, but it was too late, because, you know, these people, their ethics are very interesting. Be they the bad one or the good ones, they put ahead of everything the free will. They cannot impose a decision, even if it is assistance. If the people, the species, doesn't require assistance, they can't force it. It's about the free will. So what Val Thor told me that day, 2 weeks ago, he said, you need to request assistance, but not by putting yourself down as inferior, but by putting yourself at the same level as us. Because if you request to be freed from slavery, because that's what we're talking about, do not ask as in the position of a slave. We're not gods, we're not superior to you, we just have a different technology, more advanced, but we're people like you, just born somewhere else, different technology. We are not superior, you're not inferior. You need to be conscious of your own power, your own abilities and request assistance equal to equal, not on your knees, but standing strong. You need to do that as much as you can all over the earth. He said, we have stopped trying to get disagreement by your leaders. We've stopped. Now we are asking the whole people, everyone, to do this.
Right. So the Nordics, it was in between, like they were, okay, what it sounds like is Eisenhower was siding with the Nordics. He wanted to bring about that kind of disclosure. And then they got a warning about the Greys, and behind Eisenhower's back, they signed this treaty with the Greys. And then the next phase of it is Valiant Thor then, or Val Thor then shows up.
Yes,
and he's put on VIP status for 3 years. Is that all accurate?
Yes. Okay,
tell
correct.
us a little bit about that, and I don't want to miss anything. So if I kind of jumped in and you were trying to finish a thought, just go back to what it was. That.
So he stayed 3 years. He moved 3 years. What he said that first he was coming and going, and he was visiting the president Eisenhower and his bodyguards and his people around were starting to be very nervous and annoyed that Val Thor could materialize and teleport like this. So they asked him not to do that anymore. So he moved in. That's why he moved in.
That's why he moved in. Okay.
In the Pentagon, yeah.
Right. So Eisenhower put him on VIP status at the Pentagon, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's true. But he wasn't always there. He was based there and a lot there, but he was coming and going as he wanted. Once he was in his apartments, he could dematerialize.
Right. It's just don't do it in front of us kind of thing.
Yes. And he visited as well other leaders.
Right.
In the meantime.
So yeah, tell us kind of from the minute that contact was made, what you discovered, what ended up happening. He wanted, I mean, it seemed Eisenhower was siding with them and they became close to a certain degree, right? So to kind of take us into that.
Yeah, he said that he considered him as his friend. Val Thor considered Eisenhower as his friend. And when he left, he said when he left, because his mission was complete in 1960, he contacted him twice afterwards. When Eisenhower wasn't president anymore, because as a friend. But when Val Thor left, he said to Eisenhower, "I'm sorry." He said to me, I told him I was sorry. And I said, "Why did you say that?" He said, "Because I was sorry not to have been able to help your people." And he left with bitterness a bit. And but he said something absolutely as well important that I broke in tears when he said that, because I suddenly, because he had an aura quite powerful, I start to speak not on my behalf but on behalf of Earth people, because I don't need to be convinced. But I start to become emotional, and it wasn't me. It was weird. It was like I was channeling souls of billions of Terrans. I don't know. I was saying, please give us a sign. Give us signs. Please give us proofs. We need to see. We need to believe. We need to know you're here for us. And I start to get really emotional, and it was weird. And he put his hand on mine, and suddenly, it was peace. And he said to me, "We will never let you down. We never had, and we never will." And when he said that, in these words, through these words, it was so powerful, so meaningful. I broke in tears, and I knew he meant it. And I knew that was something people should be aware. They are not letting us down. And they fighting every day for us. And if they,
Go ahead.
No, if they do that, it's because they know it's worth it.
But you had this encounter 2 weeks ago. We're not talking like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're talking post-virus insanity. I mean, so okay. the reason he couldn't really help, though, was because like the Joint Chiefs of Staff and all these shadow government individuals shut down Val's ability to help us, right? So he couldn't.
Yes.
So what I've kind of come to understand is that it was like, okay, there wasn't a whole lot that anybody could do, but they're still assisting. And he held Eisenhower in high esteem, like you said.
Yes.
And there was still a relationship there. And then with Eisenhower's final speech and the way he kind of worded it, kind of made me feel that this had a lot to do with the discussion that him and Val must have had about being up to a knowledgeable and aware citizenry in order to kind of win this war, and that it couldn't go through these leaders, like you said, anymore. But maybe the team is different. I don't know.
Yes, well, he was Val spoke about 12 men of power and behind Eisenhower's back. And I'm convinced he was talking about the majestic 12 people.
Yeah. So here we are in what we're dealing with. They're still, fighting on our behalf. I don't want to say the word fighting, but they're assisting us.
Yes,
yeah.
that's it.
It's
Better
not
word.
a great word at all. But
no. Yeah.
With this kind of darker agenda, though, and I mean, was some kind of plan put in place that Eisenhower might have been a part of, where the positive military is working with these benevolent higher beings that you know of?
Sorry, your image froze. You said, you asked if he was part of a plan?
Did the Nordics and Val's team end up, or just the Nordics, or one or the other, or both, end up creating some sort of plan that involved positive military? So when we hear about like the white hats and we hear about some of the more positive things going on, was that something that carried over when the Gray Deal happened, that there's something that they still ended up doing together, that Eisenhower and the Nordics and his relationship with Val, there's something that just didn't just go away. It just got more like, plan must have been set in motion, right? Or what do you know about that?
Yes, what I know is that the Galactic Federation didn't give up because it was too important. They've been fighting the Reptilian Empire and the Greys from Orion, the Orion Alliance, forever. And the Orion Grey Alliance is not friend usually with the Sikaar Reptilian Empire, but sometimes they lie together for sharing a purpose, what they do on Earth. So
like the control agenda purpose, you mean?
Yes, and the humanity is basically used as slave and food. I can tell the truth. So the Galactic Federation, because they didn't have the free will agreement from the Terrans officially, they say, it's all right, we're going to do by behind the curtain, not officially. And so they work the underground, not, I mean, to since then. They never stopped helping us. They've avoided us so many catastrophes, so many nuclear blasts. We still alive. There's still life on Earth. It's because of them. They protected us from destroying everything many times, and as well from the reptilian and the Greys. So because of this free will thing, this is what stops them to just intervene and wipe out in one go everything, all the reptilians. So, but they work since then. They have as well secret agreements. I'm not told everything about it because it's for my safety. Because even if they know I won't tell, I know. And the simple fact that it is known that I know, I mean, it's not safe. So anyway, so what I know is that, yes, there are contingents of the Galactic Federation working with military, US military mainly, the Russians as well, a lot as well, and to try to counter a bit and limit the damages. Actually, all the underground operations in the deep underground military bases to free and cleanse everything, to liberate places one by one, are done by the cooperation of some part of the US military and some contingents of the Federation. This is very secret, but they work together.
Yes, right. So when, the whole kind of like trust the plan, sometimes I feel that that's what they're referring to. And this goes back a while, and that Eisenhower set something up as a countermeasure with these beings and military to protect us in these times. That's kind of what I've gotten. I don't know if, would you say that?
Yes. That's what Val was for, what came for, to try to catch up, to try to work to limit the damages of the agreement with the Greys, try to a bit round the angles and try to set up measures with Eisenhower, and so I'm not informed exactly of who is involved and exactly, but that what I know is that these measures are real and they have been going on since, and at the moment it's full on, and there's kind of a war underground to liberate Earth. And sometimes you hear explosions or stuff. Thorhan, which has been working as a pilot, rescuing people from abductions. I'm very connected to him, and I can feel and read his heart sometimes. He has seen some tough things.
Right.
Yeah, especially with children.
I can't imagine. Yeah. We
This
need
is
a part of it because it's a greater project.
yes.
There's many different types of higher beings. Like you got the Nordics, you have the beings from Venus. They're all part of this project, like you said, and they're kind of doing different things or called to task to do some different things. And some have been the ones, of course, that have been a part of the actual contact with certain leaders like Val and the Nordics. But you're saying Thorhan has seen a lot just being a part of this bigger project as far as what they've needed to do to help save the children, right? Is that?
Yes, absolutely. And now, since the moment I started to channel him and do this work on this book together, he's been promoted to work mainly on the orbital station. They have an orbital station that is cloaked, not to risk his life anymore, because he became useful to help me channel information, and it changed, so that things changed for him. But until then, I could read sometimes his memories, and it's super tough. Super tough.
And they've been in a war. Yeah, I mean, doesn't it make them very vulnerable to attack? I mean, there are a lot of casualties. Those that are involved with this project to help us. I mean, they're putting themselves on the line big time, huh?
Oh yeah. They die. So many die for us, and it's horrible. Yes, they put their lives at risk, and sometimes I'm a bit upset when I hear people who don't know. Oh, they do nothing for us. They don't care. No, that's not true. They've always been caring for us, and what Val Thor told me, we will never let you down. We never had, and we never will. When people put their lives at risk for saving another species that they shouldn't care about, it's because they believe in the victory. It's because they believe it's worth it, and because they know it's going to work. So that really gives me hope and positivity. They know it's going to work. The future, the evolution is bright. The evolution, you can't stop evolution. You can delay it a bit, but it's the normal course of things in this universe. Evolution and shifting in higher frequency and spiritual opening and blossoming. And every species does it one day or another. And we're doing it. We are just a bit held back by these scumbags of invaders. But it's all right. They have good hope in the outcome. They're working hard.
Do you think?
And yeah,
Go ahead.
look on.
Well, I don't want to get, I mean, I can wait, just keep with your flow.
Okay, they ask us mainly what often Toran told me to say this, to tell them, to the Terrans, tell them that they are more powerful than they have been conditioned to believe.
Mm-hmm.
That they came with full-on operational DNA, that they just need to activate it. And how they do that? By raising their frequency, our frequency. What is raising our frequency? Suddenly refusing fear, because fear is the tool of these invaders to enslave us. Mind control, emotional control. Refuse fear. Fear is not part of your world. Center into yourself. Look at your light being and connect with the cosmos, with the source, and suddenly you will activate. Emotions, only peace, only love. And this is how you rise your vibration. And this is the future of humanity. And they ask us that a lot, to rise our vibration and be aware of our power.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is all so amazing because it's just so confirming to what I've kind of gotten from the research I've tried to do and the downloads that have come in, and it's just so, you know, in alignment. I mean, do you get any information of, I mean, when do these kind of wars stop? If there is this aggressive sort of intruder race, I mean, what kind of happens to them? Is that a part of this duality we need to sort of live out in order to awaken? And then once we do awaken, we're not so much in the line of fire or so vulnerable? Or is it sort of like, you know, as long as we're in a free will universe, there's always going to be a predator kind of force, maybe?
Well, we could have avoided it, but that's there are two things. We could have avoided it but that's how these races invade worlds. But then when you speak with all these beings who are a bit more enlightened, I've heard things like source is the origin of everything. They call her or she. They give it a feminine gender. Some races say it's neutral. Some races, like the Pleiadians, they call her she. They call her Imana, the Great Mother. She contains the positive and the negative. Even if it is she, because she is a matrix of all life and all consciousness, she creates everything. Everything is created from her. And the negative, the destructive, and the constructive forces are created as equal. And it is the balance, it is the fight, the dynamics, sorry, not the fight, the dynamics to try to balance the both, that the both are going to kind of fight to just get above each other. The bodies want to be stronger, the light workers want to eradicate the bodies, and then this dynamics holds the structure of the multiverse together. Because if there was only a neutral force, it will be death, no life. That creates life. That
Right.
creates evolution. That creates triggering and evolution of consciousness for all races.
Right. Totally. That balance and the integration of polarity. But then there's the AI. Is there anything like what's up with that? The mimicking sort of archonic, you know, AI kind of stuff, and how that relates, you know, to the mother, or anything about the Sophia energy you hear about? Or
No, all what is AI and synthetic life forms are part of the tools and the way of the dynamic of the negative, the destructive force.
so the AI is the destructive force, and it's a part of that balancing act, because it looks like it's artificial to mimic maybe a lower vibration within us that we can grow beyond when we start to interface with it and we begin to overcome it. Would you say that that's kind of how it works?
Yes. It's part of the trigger, the tools. You know, triggers are here to push you, to kick you, to make an extra effort to evolve. If there wasn't any trigger, we would be all lazy. You know, so that's why it's there. But you know, these gray and reptilian race, they don't understand it really, and so that's why the people like the Pleiadians, it's not that they're fighting them, but they contain them in the right balance, and they try to limit the damages they do to other people. That's what they do. And here we don't often understand how the Galactic Federation is not just killing them all. And first, you need to ask the right way, and then they try not to kill life. They try. What they do when they clean these underground bases and they find sometimes greys or reptilians, they take them off world and they send them back out of the solar system. They try not to kill them, because that's what they try to do most as possible,
Right.
not to kill. And they give them chance, because always this free will, and they always have the free will, these baddies, to go to the light. Oh my God, Torhan told me some stories of, he saw a reptilian Sikar, that's their name, turning out to the light. He was taken on a ship, and I don't know how, he met somebody who had compassion for him, and he felt the love of this person, the compassion, and he never tasted it, because they speak of energy like taste sometimes, or smell. It's funny. And that opened something, and it just broke down in emotion, this reptilian guy, and he asked shelter to the Federation, and he changed. He passed to the light, and Toran saw that, and he sent me the visions of his memories, and it was super emotional, frightening to see a reptilian, but they're very, very ugly, very frightening. But seeing that, it was like, oh, wow. And yeah, they have this plan, these reptilians. They send, because they produce a lot of clones from greys, because it's very easy, small greys. The Solipsirae species of small greys. And they use them, they send them to a planet. And they say they play a trick. It's always the same trick. It's, oh, we are dying race, we need a genetic material because we're a dying race, and could we do some abductions, please, to oh yes, no, yeah, but we give technology in exchange. Okay, then.
And but didn't they, people say that that's how they presented themselves to Eisenhower. Did
Yes.
and he
Yes.
heard that from them? But he
Yes.
didn't sign anything. It was
No.
MH12 who
No.
did.
Oh, he didn't want. No, he didn't want to.
So he heard them say that, and he didn't sign the treaty.
No.
And then they did it behind his back, and then have been blaming him ever since. I know I just said that earlier.
I know he didn't say, oh no,
I've been like, this is what I'm getting, folks, and it's just like,
no,
it's
it didn't.
It's always on him. And I've been trying to answer to people for the last decade.
It's the Majestic 12 who signed with them.
The Greys. And it was going on before this administration, from what I heard.
Yes. And when Eisenhower learned about that, he was angry, and he was like furious, and he wanted, Valthor said he tried to have access to some documents, and he couldn't. They wouldn't let him access some documents, probably these agreements, I don't know, with Greys. And he couldn't access them. And oh, he told me about the CIA, that the CIA was bad, was as well involved with that.
Yep. And I heard some things too. I mean, you're getting the real deal information, but that they were higher units in the 3-letter organizations that were a part of it too, and that he tried to invade Area 51.
Yes. He went there, but it didn't work because of the CIA, and I don't know the details. But yeah, it couldn't. At the end, he didn't get the documents, and it was when he finished his presidency. He was apparently a bit bitter and scared.
He was devastated. Yeah. He had about 8 heart attacks too. I mean that, and just all the misinformation, all the rewriting of history. Because I have people, and I don't know what your thoughts are, if you know anything about this, saying that he committed this horrific genocide of the Germans during the Second World War. So what do you know about that? That you're shaking your head, so it's not true, right?
No. He was a good man. You know what Valthor said about your great-grandfather, that he was a remarkable man. That's a word I heard, remarkable. and he was his friend. You know, to be friend with the Nordics and the Federation, you're a good person, you know. And he told me about his anger, and as well about his love. He insisted a lot about Eisenhower's love for children, and he was worried about the children on Earth, and maybe he knew that the children were taken, maybe.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
what I really feel for him about, and why I really feel like, you know, part of my mission is coming into this family to help bring about truth and disclosure and definitely, you know, ascension and human potential and what our DNA is really made of, is to like clear him from this, because, you know, somebody who cares so much about the children, who is always being blamed
Yes.
for the one signing the deals and that he sold us out. I mean, I feel him constantly since I was a kid, just not that he was like saying something's not right here, but almost like preparing me for getting to the bottom of this. And it's always been so strong. Go ahead with that thought. And then has Val connected with him on the other side? Because I heard that they're a part of a, okay, so what were you going to say though, after I said what I said, and then we could go in that direction?
He kept contact with him, and he met him twice after he finished his presidential time.
But after he transitioned, like in the here and now, are they still, is the spirit of Eisenhower still working with that?
Oh, he didn't tell me.
Anyway, that's.
I suppose because they were friends and they kept contact. So I wouldn't be surprised. I can get this information. Yeah, I will ask.
Well, I'd love to. I mean, I'll probably message you privately about, you know, some of this. I probably won't bring it up, but about maybe a message I can, or just a way to get more connected into this, because yeah, that's a whole other thing. But not have any. I have no expectations. But just to kind of go back. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I feel no, because I'm a shaman, and I see stuff. There is something very clear to me when I see, when I speak to you, is that you came, and I have shivers saying that. You incarnate to put things back in the right way with these agreements. And you are very powerful, and your mission is super important. You came to bring the truth back and really tell what happened, and set back what your great grandfather couldn't do. You will do it.
Oh,
That's
man.
that's what I feel. But that's my perception. That's my intuition. That's my, you know, and that it's very strong to me. You came to finish what he couldn't do.
I've always known that since I was a kid. I'm like, what am I doing here? And it was like instantly, it just came through and came through and came through. You know, just that time that we all kind of, you know, ask those kind of questions, as you know. But yeah, so we're kind of going back into the Area 51 thing, the MJ12, and the documents that he wanted to get his hands on. And it just blows my mind that they've been saying that he was the one that signed the deal. And you're one of the first people to ever really, really validate what my intuition has been telling me that I haven't really been able to, you know, fully, you know, validate. But I was saying something and you were about to say something in response, and then we kind of shifted gears, but I don't know if you remember what that might have been. Anything kind of coming through based on what we've been talking about so far that you haven't been able to put into words just yet?
Not at the second. It may come back in the conversation.
So we're unwinding from all this stuff, and I mean, this has been, obviously everybody's talking about 2020 being just insane, as we know. 2 weeks ago, you have visitation with Val, and didn't you say that Thor, that a bunch of them were getting all excited about something big about to come in and around like a 2 week ago kind of thing? That was when this other excitement was coming through, that they were really excited about what was happening? Or was that when you broke the 20-year spell of not talking for a while with
well, that was both. Yeah, when in 2018, when they abducted me again, they were very happy to see me again, and it was like very happy to see each other. But as well, I could feel this excitement when they said, "We are coming back because something great is going to happen for the earth, and we are back for it." It was like, yeah, you know. It wasn't said like, "Oh, that's going to be, we're coming because," it's like, "We're back because," they were very enthusiastic.
And that was 2018.
Yeah, 2018. Yes.
That's after
and
they had all this stuff
yeah,
already written in the script of their New World Order. So, well, it's been
and he
around
said
for a
to
long
me,
time. Go ahead.
and he said to me, "I would advise to you now to enjoy life. Go out, see people, go out and enjoy life. Because in 2 years' time, exactly in 2 years' time, difficult times will come when you will not be able to do this for a while. The lockdowns."
Yes. But then 2 weeks ago, you're meeting with Val. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, right. They gave you kind of a heads up. So finish with that. And then the significance of this encounter with Val just being 2 weeks ago. So they
Yes.
were preparing you in 2018, basically. Have fun. It's gonna be temporarily taken away, right?
Yes, temporary. Yes. So they let me know is that by February 2021, end of February, all these lockdowns will be over, and we will know where we are going as a species. The winter solstice, nothing extraordinary magical happens on the winter solstice except this conjunction, this alignment of Jupiter and Saturn, but it's not just gravitational forces. But as it is the Earth that shifts, and now that the Druid starts to speak, the planet is shifting. So it works with the planet's seasons and rhythms and cycles. And the winter solstice is one of the cycles. What is it? It is the darkest points in the night, the darkest points of the year, when the nights are the longest. And after the 4 days of the solstice, because it starts on the 21st and it ends on the 25th in the morning, when we say the sun stops in the sky, because it just doesn't move very, when it rises still at the same point nearly. But after the 25th, the sun is going to rise earlier and earlier and earlier. And then it's the rebirth of light. That's why the Christians have put rebirth of the birth of Jesus, the King of Light. It's a rebirth of light for the whole planet. So that's a natural cycle. And then comes springs, and it's following all these things. In autumn, it's been just confusion and going into the dark. It follows the cycles of the earth, so in spring 2021 we should know where we are going, and it should be all right. It's a window. We are at the fork between two timelines, so we are here, we are at this point, and we will take, they say we'll take the good timeline. We are on the way to take the good timeline, but as we go in the future in time, we will go away from the negative future timeline.
And that's the bifurcation.
So, yes, but at the start we're very close to it, so it still interferes.
I
less
had
and less and less.
Yesterday that as it splits, there's still a bridge where there's still
yes.
communication and connection until it's like it's not over till it's over. But even though there's a split, there's still the lines of communication. Like I kept seeing these bridges between the timelines for a while. Do you think
they showed me the same thing? And as well, they told me that it's a shift of paradigm, and the ancient paradigm, every time we change paradigm, and we can see that in our own lives, the ancient paradigms fights back, tries to fight, and so that's why you have all these obstacles suddenly, and that tells you that you are changing. And what he said to me is that yes, we need to believe and hope and trust, because if we are in 29th of October, they told me there's going to be 40 days of confusion for humanity, and that's should be finished today, I think. Anyway. Weird. What I was saying, yes, it's like a dying beast, this ancient paradigm, and it knows it's going to die, so it's going to push all its agendas, all it has in its gut at the last moment, faster as it can. It's just going to give everything it has to try to fulfill its agendas before dying. That's why it's so scary at the moment. That's why we know, I'm not going to name stuff, but we have all these. I'm going to do the, you know, um, as well in
Yeah, I mean,
February.
that's major because that could
That's
change our DNA.
not, yeah.
So
So what Torhan told me about that, he said since February last year, February 2020, he said, it wasn't talking about lockdown or anything. It was just about to start. He said to me, one day he said to me, connect, he said, do not let anybody insert, no, do not let anyone insert into your body anything without your consent, and even not. And then he became more explicit, and he told me that these were carrying, it calls it the tracker dust, a tracker dust. So I understand it's nano trackers that will fix to your nervous system. It will alter your DNA. You will be remotely controlled. It can even control your behavior because it's linked with satellites. As well. And they are on Earth in certain bases, underground bases, centers where they have mind control devices, I don't know, stuff as well. So nothing, because that's all part of the agenda. They want to enslave humanity by altering the DNA, that we do not activate our DNA and evolve in higher frequency. They want to keep us as slaves.
do you think some of the grays and some of what's happened in the galactic history that's created sort of the grays or the modified, humans, or, how the tall whites might be, Pleiadians that were modified into becoming like a gray species? Do you think it's because of things like these?
They've done that a lot. They've done that a lot.
Is that what we end up turning into? Is
yeah,
these?
Yeah. They want to turn us into like zombies, like slaves.
And that eventually would mean that our physical body turns into like a EBE maybe?
Yeah, because all these hybridation programs, every in the underground facilities that they freed, I've seen pictures in Thoran's head of what they took out, and there was lots of hybrids, and hybrids between humans and greys.
Yeah,
And they look all weird and different, and that's what they want to create, this race. That's, the abductions are mental. That's going so much. And not all
they're trying to create grays, but then they hybridize with the grays in order to combine the genetics. Aren't there different types of breeding programs? Some of them are more benevolent, like there's the Asasani, which seems to be more benevolent, but then there's the whole other kind of thing, which is further enslavement. Or what can you tell us about the different types of breeding programs?
Oh yeah. So there are two big groups of abductions, the benevolent and the malevolent. Let's talk about the malevolent because we need it's for three purposes, mainly that I've been explained. Food, so for the reptilians, because the reptilians eat us, especially children. Adrenochrome as well is a big thing as well that they harvest. It makes them stronger and increase their ability to shapeshift as well. So food, then slaves as workforce. That's the workforce that is sent on other planets for mining as well, to join to fight whatever workforce. So food, workforce, and genetic material. That's the three. The genetic material, it's in alliance with the MyLab. It's done as well by the military underground. They help a lot, and not all abductions are performed in ship, very few. A lot are performed in underground bases, even if it is the ETs that abduct, the military used to facilitate rooms for that. Well, I mean, that's the bad. The good ones, because there are good abductions. So when we are abducted, we are traumatized because it's traumatic experience, but sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we think it's bad, but it's good. And because I've experienced it, this gray being that I hugged, who called me my child, that's part of it. So that's another thing. They pick, so it's another organization, which is the Council of Five. It's very spiritual and old organization. It's like the Federation. They work together. They pick bloodlines who have certain blood and a potential for psychic abilities and quick DNA progress. They are going to insert their extraterrestrial DNA in these bloodlines by abducting people generation to generation to activate these families, people, to speed up the evolution of human race, because we need
Like all the
to speed up.
and like the fluoride, the GMOs, and all the things, all the assaults, right?
Oh yeah. They try on every front. So these good beings, they abduct people to speed up the evolution of our race, that we are stronger, quicker, and more evolved quicker. They activate our DNA and they put their DNA in us as well.
Are they both like different types of grays? Because so you've
They're
got,
not all grays. Yeah.
They're not all grays, right? There's a lot of different breeding programs, but there is a benevolent one with the grays, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. And yeah. So I'm from an ancient bloodline of shaman women and people with certain abilities. So I understand better. I know my grandmother was abducted as well. She told me the story. And so that's why this being I hugged, I was calling me my child.
So are you saying that was, okay, explain what he meant.
Because he put a little bit of his DNA in me, because that I didn't have the time to just tell everything, but I had another abduction when I was a toddler. It's in my book. I was abducted from my bed by this tall gray being, which is he's an Egaroth, and he took me on his ship to check me out and see if I was okay. He put a long device on my skin and on my chest, and it radiated a glowing red light, and it was very warming. It's like if he activated something in me, in my heart chakra. And he was checking me and touching me. Everything was all right, and he was full of love and very nice. This I remembered under hypnosis. So this was an example of these abductions, which are part of a program to help our species to evolve faster. Then as well, with all the star seeds and the envoys, souls who came from higher density to incarnate in Earth, Terran avatars, as they call it, bodies. They need to prepare the body because the shock would be very rough, and both will feel discomfort and even sickness. So they pick these enhanced bloodlines to rise the vibration and activate the DNA of this bloodline, that the bodies are able to receive these souls, and it's compatible. So that's what I've been told as well. So anyone who knows they are envoys, as they call it, they have had their bloodlines prepared. That's what I.
So does that relate to the whole RH negative and positive thing? Is there a major significance to that?
Oh yes, there's something in the blood as well. Yes. So if I can remember, the O blood has been brought by the Anunnaki, who who arrived so long ago, and they wanted to create a slave race, a hybrid race with primitives, primitive population. So they put their the Anunnaki are a reptilian race. They look like humans. Anunnakini means human-like, but they are reptilian grades. So they are all blood, and but in order to put their blood, to mix their blood, it wasn't compatible. Reptilian blood isn't compatible with humans, but the greys, so many greys are. So that's different. In the greys, there are different strands. There are gray, reptilian greys, insectoid greys. There are different things. So they create a protein that we call D positive. That's to make the O compatible with humans, and that's quite complicated. So they will abduct for different purposes regarding to the blood. If it is for hybridization, they will pick the right blood. Hybridization with greys or hybridization with reptilians, different things. You have the protein or not. It's complicated. If it's for food or slavery, they don't care. They take everyone.
Oh, gotcha. So so there's the ET part of it, but what do you hear about when it comes down to like the characters like Lucifer or some of these pantheons and these different archetypal energies of the Divine Mother, the Christ energy, or like what are you kind of picking up on as far as, you know, these greater stories that relate to how the earth became the earth, and you know, and the Lucifer role? And I mean, are we reconciling all these archetypes within ourselves and learning to heal based on how we relate to them? And until we get that, we're dealing with a whole nother kind of storyline that we're just wrapping our heads around. I mean, is there any kind of clarity you can bring? Because even some really well-intentioned people are like, oh, but Lucifer's the bringer of light. And then, oh, Sophia's the real Lucifer. You know, it's like, it gets so confusing. Is there any clarity you can bring on that? I mean, I don't feel confused within what my understanding is, but I know a lot of people are, and I'd be so curious to hear what you have to say.
You know, there's a lot of confusion, and even put on purpose through all the groups on social medias and the spiritual groups, there on purpose confusion put in it to just confuse us, that we lose our work, our path. I haven't had any real insight about Lucifer, but I know that there's some tidy up that needs to be done, because these good and bad entities have been visiting Earth since so long, very long. And the populations have remembered them as gods or sometimes angels. So there's a confusion sometimes. And they have been fighting these ETs. They had territorial wars. So that's when we have all the myths of gods fighting each other. And the Veda of India did really tell a great story about it.
Are you talking like the Titans and the Olympian type thing?
Yes, for instance. And they all owned, there were lots of colonies, and they were owning different parts on Earth, as I understand. So that became legends, and even merged with archetypes, because when you let time pass, history becomes legends, legends become myths, and myths become religions. So it gets mashed up, you know, it's
right, and then
difficult.
Right, in different perspectives in order to steer a kind of narrative based in.
Yes. But what something interesting I got about angels, that we should make a difference between mythological beings called angels, who were just like, for instance, Nordics visiting people, and real angels, like real entities with real consciousness that have no body. They are all pure consciousness. Because I've asked about angels, and they say they are guardian entities. There are many layers, many levels, um, and they are the highest ones are pure consciousness. And something very interesting about Metatron, you know, this Metatron, it's a super consciousness that is very close to source, because they said there are 13 layers, 13 layers of densities. The 13th is source, and Metatron is just like the guardian of the portal. It's sacred geometry, and the geometry is consciousness by itself. The pattern it creates, the flower of life, it's conscious.
So there's a Metatronic cube, right? And it relates to the Earth grids. Is this like the Merkaba field? Is this?
Yes, yes. That's the structure of everything alive. That's the power of source, like crystallize. That when source manifests creation or energy or life energy, it materializes. It has the structure of this Merkaba or Metatron. If you take the geometric lines whole, it composes everything. And when you do the protection of the Merkaba around you, you reconstruct the very power of source, and nothing can just reach out to you because you possess it. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't you say that there have been dark technologies that have messed with the Earth grids and tried to reprogram the planetary grid network to create these artificial timelines?
Yes.
And that part of the mind control is siphoning our energies in order to feed those artificial constructs that have distorted the sacred geometries and the Earth grids, and I don't know what kind of information have you been given about that. I could talk to you forever, and I want to respect your
I
know.
What the information I have is that the Galactic Federation, they're working a lot on maintaining the Earth electromagnetic grid. Well, you have different layers. You have the electromagnetic grid and you have the etheric grid. And it's like ley lines, the ley lines that are in the ground projected. It's the same thing. So as above, so below. When you work on the ley lines on Earth, it acts there. And when you work there, it acts on the Earth. So that's how it is good to do meditation on some specific nodes on Earth and project it, heal it, and project it up, and it really changes everything up there, and it the repercussions is on all the planets. So they are the good ones, the Galactic Federation of Worlds. They are working on maintenance of this grid above our head, making sure that it is not hacked by the dark powers, and trying to keep the balance. So there are nodes, and I've seen meditations where manifestation and consciousness and pure love was sent up, and it was caught by the nodes and redirected in the lines of the grid above, and it was quite beautiful to see, because the way they see that, they see colors, they see waves of energy like ripples, and it's quite impressive and beautiful. We are so powerful. By our consciousness we can really interact on the planet, because we are interacting with it,
well, it's a macro version of us with our
yes,
chakras and our dormant DNA that we're learning to switch back on.
You know, the Thorus, I don't know if you say that, I say that well in English, this shape
field, I guess, is what some people here say, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you call it, because
no, I totally get you.
excuse my French. It's the
it's
same
a much
shape
more beautiful
for everything. No, it's the same thing for the planet. It's a universal shape, dynamic shape, you know. We have it in miniature, and the little fly has it in miniature, and the planet has it in miniature. Every living, you know, organism has this dynamic.
So when you hear certain things, you know, like flat earth theory, or what, you know, I mean, are there psyops? Is there a sort of a truth to it? Is it almost like everything exists because perception is what creates our reality, that we might as well accept that everything is real? Or do you know that certain things are a definite psyops, that it doesn't have to, we don't have to go into flat earth or anything, but I mean.
Well, the question of the flat earth has been brought up in my conversations, and well, the answer was like, well, you see it with your own eyes. It's round, it's a globe, and it's so the flat earth is just a trick of the mind, and it's just an illusion, and that's not the truth. You know, it's the every planet in the universe is round because it's dynamics. It's a laws of physics, and it cannot be otherwise. Nothing can be flat. It's not working. That's gravity. Gravity forms balls round, and the biggest it is, the most perfect the sphere is. And that's just laws of physics. And so the answer was just replied very quickly. He said, well, you see it by your own eyes. It's laws of physics, and it cannot be otherwise. So he told me it's just a trick of the mind. And you know, these deep state, they put a lot of confusion in people's minds. And it's not only that, it's about fighting against each other, about you know, manipulating minorities, and trying to divide to conquer. You know, they want to confuse our minds. And we will join this galactic community as equal. And when we will get on with each other, when we'll be all federated as a peaceful species,
That's where we're heading.
That's where we're heading.
Well,
and it's going to happen.
Yeah, the New World Order agenda, no doubt, is like really kind of hardcore. And I feel like this election is very different than anything else, because I've always avoided politics. I know both sides are owned.
Yeah.
Everything got really compromised after Eisenhower, Kennedy. But this administration feels different. And I don't want to put you on the spot kind of with your thoughts about this particular administration. But it seems like, without being right or left, I like to be balanced and in the middle, but not in the lower 3D either, that there is some serious infiltration going on with the left, and that this agenda, this New World Order agenda, is manifesting itself through the Socialism Democratic Party, and that Trump might be actually connected to this plan that goes all the way back to the positive military and these higher ET races. And whatever you feel comfortable saying about what I just shared would be awesome. And then I know I should probably say goodbye, and I hope, you know, you'll want to join me again. But yeah, so just kind of like thoughts on the election, where the infiltration is happening. I know both sides are corrupt. I'm not saying, you know, it's so black or white.
You know,
yeah, just anything you can share on that, because I know people are really struggling with where to put their support, knowing that, yeah, people are signing stuff. You know, I mean, we have the power in the collective, but, you know, we still aren't out of the woods as far as the system. So yeah, any thoughts?
Yes. I know it's very difficult for me to say names, and just because I'm not American, so I shouldn't be concerned by it, but I am, because I live on Earth, and everyone is concerned by these elections. So what I get is that, 2 years ago, when my friends came back in 2018, and they told me something's going to happen in 2 years' time. We were in November 2018, and I calculated quickly, November 2020, the American elections. And I went, oh, at the time I was very brainwashed by the medias, and I said to him, oh, I hope Trump won't get in again. And he went,
Wait, who said that? They hope they Trump?
Me, because I was brainwashed by the medias, and I was, you know, I said that to him. Oh, I hope he won't, because he was pictured like a horrible man.
Oh yeah.
And my friend Torhan, he kind of smiled and a little bit sorry. He said, he will be re-elected by the people. And I went, oh no, at the time, And he said he will be re-elected by the people. So I brought that up recently. I went, what you said, is it still, because that's a bit not going that way. And because then I had more elements and I understood.
Well, like
Exactly.
you dropped it. Not, I wouldn't say it's brainwashing, but you let go of whatever narrative the myth was trying to steer.
Yeah.
And you felt better about him, and then you recently asked.
Yes, and then I understood he was. Yes, then I understood he was not part of all these deep state, and he wanted to get rid of it, and it was the biggest challenge of all times. But then I said to Thorhan, so what's up now? Because that doesn't look like it's going to go the way everybody wants with the federation and stuff. And he said, of course, free will stuff. But he said, the Terran people needs to see who their enemy, needs to see the face of their enemies, that it needs to be revealed. And they also need to see who their allies are. So everything that's the moment coming is to show everyone, look, that was going on, and look who are your real enemy, who is your real enemy, who is wanting to harm to humanity. It's like, if we are to shift, we need to do it right and understand what's going on.
Right. And to me, it's not all about, the T-Man, it's about all of us. And it's a greater team, like on a human level, where we all want the same things: liberties, sovereignty. They all out like his character, this and that. We get kind of lost in the mix. But I mean, he's been talking about the shot stuff, and it might just be a part of the greater kind of planned public relations sort of move.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, okay, if the deep state wins at the end of the day by tricking and cheating, it's 4 more years of rebel fighting for the light. It's fine. We'll get there eventually. Exactly. Because totally. Who has the power? Who has the power?
It's beyond the election. It's beyond the election. So yeah, I mean, that's why, like, even today, I just have a sense of humor about seeing, Biden wins the Electoral College. It's like, okay, like that does not matter, because no matter how you flip it, we're in this greater showdown.
Yes, and all united. Oh my God, they're nothing. They're nothing.
Yeah, I just wish those that are really sucked into the leftist agenda wouldn't be so hateful and dismissing of those that have shared any support for the other side. If that could be, but I know what you're saying about they need to know who the enemy is and who our allies are, but it's like the evidence can be staring them at the face and they'll still say it's a conspiracy, or it's a plant, or it's a document. Some people are in such denial. It's like, even if they don't wake up though, I mean, like you said,
it's conditioning. It's conditioning. And something very interesting that Valiant Thor had told me, I remember now these words. He said, you cannot liberate a slave if the slave holds on to its chains.
Yeah.
I think that was very good.
I want to make a t-shirt, and I'll definitely put Val Thor as a quote. That's good. Because we have a family t-shirt company, but I would want, to
do the one we will never let you down, because it's a great message. We will never let you down. We never had, and we never will. That's something, it's very important.
So yes, totally. So you're in constant communication with Thorhan, right?
Yes.
And so when you had, or somebody had brought up Val Thor, and he arranged to make contact, and it took a little while to have that contact happen, what is sort of the last note that you've left on since you last communicated with either Val or Thorhan, if you feel comfortable sharing?
To not let fear reach out to us, that fear is the tool of our occupants or invaders. Fear takes away your power, and once you do not fear, you're all powerful. And we need to request as well assistance. That's something very important.
Right.
The
So
whole humanity.
Yeah.
Request assistance, not on our knees, but
Right.
standing on our feet as equals, because if we want to evolve, we have to manifest ourselves already there. It's all about manifestation.
And you mentioned that earlier, and that's so huge. Not coming from a place of victimhood or lowliness. Like, we have to reclaim these aspects of ourselves that they represent, is kind of what I'm getting that you're saying. It's like these beings, these great spiritual benevolent individuals that you've gotten to know are a part of our greater inheritance and our higher self that we're looking to reclaim, and it's in our hands, and we mustn't
it's
fear
always
that.
been it always has been in our hands. We just have been brainwashed that we're not. We are sheep. We're not. We are sovereign beings and a sovereign species, and it's all in the mind. And we need to be aware of that we have this power and we can manifest our future. Visualize, by visualizing us already as we want it. We want a happy future. We create it in our mind, and we imagine very strongly that it's already happening. We create it. We have this power.
Totally. Well, and this is so important, especially for the small business owners, like in New York City and California, that are being shut down, and they're not fully awake, but they're not asleep either. They just know that something is like seriously wrong here.
Yes.
And it's not easy to be resourceful or let go of those attachments or those businesses that people have built, or the locations that they've been living for a while. Is there anything kind of coming through that you can say to those kind of folks where, wow, they might have to relocate, or they might have to just say, I'm not going to comply? I mean, this is almost where the battleground is right now. It's like literally the battleground right now is business owners saying, I'm not going to shut down. I'm standing my ground. And that's sort of like the modern day civil war happening, is the refusal to comply. Just like if somebody knocks on the door saying, we're going to vaccinate you, or you can't travel without doing this level of manipulation. So, just kind of closing, like, what do you say to those people that are kind of in the in-between? They got a foot in both worlds, and they're just being thrown into survival. And it's like they're being told to mask their kids, separated from their families that, might have to go to the hospital for cancer instead of this. And then, your thoughts also on the masks. Obviously that's like BS.
Yes. What I would say is that it's like a dying beast that tries everything possible not to consent to be a slave to the beast. Turn your back and walk away towards the light in all sovereignty. You own your body, you own your soul, you own your movements, your decisions, and your behavior. And every time you accept to be manipulated by fear, you accept not to breathe, to restrain your movement, not to hug your children, you consent, you sign with the devil. So stop that. Do not consent to be manipulated. Do not consent to be in fear. Turn your back to the beast and walk ahead, and do not get the mark of the beast, if you know what I mean. Go ahead. Look into the future you're manifesting. We can all do this. If we are trusting ourselves, we get this.
Right. And we have to look forward to just the springtime, and what you said about this temporary sort of lockdown, that it's not going to continue on. But if we can hold this kind of energy,
yes, hold on. It's
inevitable.
Scary. It's scary. It's confusing, but please do not go back to the ancient paradigm. It's your death. It's your destruction, because it's being destroyed. It's collapsing. If you hold on to the ancient paradigm, you're going to collapse with it. Just trust. And every time you trust, you create a flow, and the universe provides. You just need to trust.
Oh, totally. I mean, and it reminds me of like people hanging on to an abusive partner where they're afraid to leave that partner. And when they're really able to do that, this whole beautiful world is awaiting, like the possibility of true love, the possibility of self-love, and knowing that you're worth so much more than we can imagine. And just like you said earlier, I mean, we're more powerful than we can imagine. And sometimes the anticipation is worse than, what happens after you make that decision. And I always
fear is illusion. Fear is illusion.
Totally. It's like I always choose the metaphor of like the anticipation of jumping out of a plane, wondering if your parachute's going to work, is a lot worse than once you take that leap and you realize it's going to open. It's okay.
Yes, and once you've done it, you go, oh my gosh, that was easy. Oh my God, done it. And now you take confidence and you will do it all the time and you won't fall in the trap again because you know you can do it. You've done it once. Here we go. And yeah.
I have to say, this is one of the most important and amazing interviews I've ever done. And meeting you has been so huge. Your story is incredible. Your energy, everything that you shared has just been so major. I'm like, it doesn't even seem, kind of real. And I can imagine that when you're going into these places, on ships, and you were starting to realize that you're not just dreaming, this is actually real. And you said some of it was when you were asleep, or most of it was not. You were totally just like,
when they don't want us to remember, they take us in the sleep, because then it's easy to either, if we remember a bit, we think it was a dream, or either, we don't even realize we were taken. That's why they do it when we sleep. It's easier.
Oh, I gotcha. And this has been
you don't have missing time. Yeah.
And you've experienced missing time though, because you did have some daytime abductions,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, some daytime. Yeah. Sometimes, and that just betrays them, their actions. Yes.
So did you say though that the gray that you gave a hug to, it wasn't like you said brown skin and beautiful eyes, but there was something about the appearance that resembled the grays, but this had nothing to do with those original abduction scenarios where you
No,
this was
I try to find a picture of him. Yeah. That's him.
And you drew this?
I drew this. That's my book with all my drawings.
Oh my goodness.
And with all the drawings of so I have all my abductions. That's when I was rescued by the Pleiadians.
Wow. And did this particular, I know you named this person that you gave a hug to that was just really beaming with love. Obviously, it doesn't sound like it had anything to do with that original abduction with grays that were more automations or more kind of AI, maybe connected to the military, did you say? Or
not these ones.
No, but the first abduction that you had that you got rescued from, that was like more an automation sort of AI military thing?
Yes, not related to my lab. Well, I don't think so. I don't know, but because my abduction was in a ship, but it was performed by grays, small grays. The race is Solipsari, and they had synthetic life forms, AI workers.
And that is, but there was no correlation between that experience and any of the beings that you've met since, right?
The other one, no.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
No,
and so they really, that like really shielded you, even though, there was that headache for a really long time that you had to go through. So
that's my drawings of all the races I've repertoriated with that ship.
So huge that you did this and created this for everybody to.
Yes, all the races.
Okay. I know we've been on the call for like 2 hours and it's been.
Oh my God.
I know. Time totally flew. And I look forward to just doing more.
We definitely need to chat again. Yeah.
This is incredibly hopeful though, that it was just 2 weeks ago you hung out with Val Thor and you're still in constant communication with Thor Han. and that you're here on Earth. And as painful as it is with the Starseed mission to have to wake up every day in this density when you see that star system that you feel such a connection to,
Oh
thank you so
yeah.
much for your strength.
So
And
believe me, I have my beam me up or I shoot myself days as well.
oh my gosh, you can please get a hold of me when you have those days. And totally, I get it, man.
No, they just go, you're stupid.
So, but have you had, okay, you worked with some amazing like hypnotherapists, right? But
Oh yes.
as far as just like partners, relationships, friendships, I mean, has it been really, really difficult to maintain them, or if people just really turn the other way?
Well, I never spoke about it to keep my friends and relationship because it couldn't work until I awakened and I activated and I did this hypnosis and I went, now it's about me. And it's about me being who I am and with my past as well. And then this book, the idea of the book came, and that's when I had to take a decision because that was putting up public, private, very private things. And I went, you know what? I said to myself, to my higher self, I went, you know what? That will help so many people. So I need to do it not for me, but for others. And if I'm considered like crazy, I don't care.
Right.
You know, you plant seeds. It takes or it doesn't take. Takes.
Yeah.
But the important is to throw seeds in the wind, and it will take in the right soil.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the most important thing. Just continue to move forward. I've used the silly metaphor of like, it's like you're in a parade and you're just throwing stuff out to the crowd. But if you jump off to pay attention to what they're doing with it, or if they're rejecting it, or if they're throwing it back at you, you're not going to be able to move forward. You're going to get too caught up in what everybody else thinks. But of course, it's not candy. It's like nutritional stuff that we'd be throwing out to the crowd. But it's so hugely important. And and I know people are just going to flip hearing this interview and are just going to gain so much inspiration of who cares what anybody thinks. I mean, that is like the last thing anybody should be concerned about, because many easy to be human, but I
took the right decision.
I'm going to thank you for later. Go ahead.
No, I think I took the right decision going public, because you have no idea all the messages I receive every day. Like, oh, you changed my life. Oh, I can now see who my star family is. And oh my God, who is abducting me and why? Oh, wow. It's absolutely, when you embrace who you truly are, you do the right thing. Whatever you do, it's the right thing when you embrace who you are. And that's our power, to be ourselves.
God, what an incredible journey, though, and all the different things. Being an archaeologist in Egypt.
I know.
I mean, what a multifaceted, beautiful diamond of an existence that you've brought to this planet, and you're generously sharing with all of us. So grateful. Anything you want to share, though, before we close, about where to find you? Title of your book again. I'm going to put all the links in the description.
Yeah. So I show it.
Notes of anything that you want to share. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So first, then it's out of the way. That's the book, A Gift from the Stars, Guide of Alien Races, Amazons and Bards and Nobles. But then that's the book. But then I have a YouTube channel where I put up for free meditations, workshops, advices.
What's the name of that YouTube channel?
Elena Danaan. My name, Elena Danaan. And then I do as well on this channel, I do QA live on all these alien topics, and as well channelings every Thursday, 7 p.m. EST. You'll see on the channel, I channel live Thor, my protector, sometimes other beings, yes, and people can ask questions.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's quite precious.
Oh, the timing couldn't be better. I mean, today's an eclipse day. We're moving into the December 21st. And I love what you said about, all that, but, then the springtime of 2021, and in a way that people can really experience it and not be distracted away from it. You're helping to bring people back to center.
Focus.
Yeah. I mean, when people tune into your energy and what you have to share, it literally helps to deprogram them and pull them away from this entanglement with the outer world and the externalization of this process of transformation that we need to own and claim, or else it gets, hijacked, and we're sitting there in fear of death instead of moving through that gateway of death into the transformation and alchemy. And you're a living master and an angel and more. I just so grateful.
I'm just a person like everyone else, just aware of more things maybe, but we can all be like this. Just
Oh, I know.
believe
Well,
in
it always
ourselves.
comes with humility. but but it's not to make anybody, it's like we all have this potential.
Yes, we all do. We all have 12 strands of DNAs and more sometimes. And some people only 2 are activated, some 4, some more, and one day we'll be all activated. We can do stuff like mental. We can do telekinesis. We can levitate. We can do things. You have no idea. And we're so powerful, and we've been brainwashed that we are nothing, we're animals. And no, that's over. That's over.
It is over.
Because when you wake up, you cannot go back to sleep. When you know something, you cannot unknow it. That's it.
Yeah, and nobody's going to be able to unhear what they just heard tonight.
Yes. So that's it. So if you want to join me, go to my YouTube channel, Elena Danaan. Otherwise, I have website.
I'll put all it.
Yeah, put all the links.
And I'll be there, everybody. And thank you so much for being with us tonight. And it's just been incredible. And it's groundbreaking and huge for me on so many multiple levels. But one especially is to, I really feel it's healing the heart of Eisenhower, who I feel I've almost taken that human heart that he felt. And I've always had chest pains, like, oh, I'm going to, it's like we've been, so close, and I've felt things that I haven't really been able to prove or validate, but enough information to at least be able to sort of set the record straight. And the frequency, resonates with certain people. But I mean, I've never heard anybody put it like you, because of these experiences that you've, had since you were a child. And it's going to help the legacy of Eisenhower in this human domain be cleared of a lot of distortion and misunderstanding. And even though it doesn't matter what other people think, I know that's a source of, pain that we carry as a family, not because of needing any accolades or credit. It's because of the venom and the hatred that comes along with it when it's not deserved, because him and I are very similar in the fact that we fight for the children, and that's what it's about. And to be misunderstood is not easy. And so thank you for...
they had to put these 12 men, they had to put the blame on someone else, on someone that was in power, and for the agreements, this majestic 12, they had to put the blame on somebody to hide the truth. Because when we will totally know officially the truth, what not only the US government, but other governments as well have agreed to do, I mean, facilitating abductions and horrendous things, that's the end of them. So yeah. they need to put the blame on someone. So now his memory is being restored, and you're here for that to heal this and bring back the truth. I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I've been working as hard as I can. I mean, it is what I'm here to do. And it's just crazy, how the most well-intentioned people that are really here for humanity, end up going through that. But, it's all part of the territory. And I was going to say something else, but that will probably lead to another round of questions and thoughts. And I know it's, time to go. I don't know if I should split this into 2 parts. Oh, there's the bell. No, we got the noise. But yeah. Oh, I had something else to say, but I'm gonna just say goodnight. And yeah, just, I love you and so much gratitude and love all of
Yeah.
you out there.
Oh my God. We really needed to connect, and that's the time. That's now. That's fantastic time. And thank you for helping me spread all these messages. And we get this.
We do. We do. I totally feel it. Okay. Thank you. Much love, everybody. Take care. Good night.